Okay, lesson 2.3 is a review of polynomial and synthetic division. So let's set up our first function f of x equal to x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9 divided by x minus 3. So this is going to be a long division problem. So we start off by x minus 3, and we put our dividing sign. As soon as I make a nice, okay, try it again, our dividing sign. And then we put the dividend in there. So x cubed minus 2x squared. Now remember, there's no x term, so you have to put in a placeholder. So it's going to be 0x minus 9. Extend our sign out. Okay, now let's just do a little bit of review. This is what we call the divisor. And this is the dividend. And the answer is going to be the quotient. Okay, so what's the first thing? Okay, the first thing you ask yourself, look at the x in the divisor, and we're going to have to multiply something to get rid of the x cubed. So it's going to be x times x squared is going to be x cubed. Now, you want to put the x squared right above the x squared column. And you keep these in nice and straight columns, and it will help you get the right answer so much better. So let's multiply the x squared times x. It's x cubed. X squared times a negative 3. Negative 3x squared. And so what you're doing is subtracting this. X squared minus x squared is 0. We don't have to put the 0. 2x squared minus a minus 3x squared. So 2x squared plus 3x squared, because this whole thing is subtracted, and you have to distribute the negative sign. So we're going to have x squared. Then we bring down the next, what's next in line is going to be 0x. So now, what times x gives us x squared? Well, it's going to be x. We'll put a plus in there. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 is a negative 3x. Again, you're going to divide this whole thing. So x squared minus x squared is 0. 0x minus a minus 3x gives us 3x. Then bring down the next number, so we have a negative 9. Now, what times x is going to give us 3x? Well, it's a plus 3. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times a negative 3, negative 9. And this works out where we have a remainder of 0. This is our remainder. If the remainder was something other than 0, you would just put in a remainder, whatever number it is, divided by our divisor, x minus 3 would be your remainder. We don't have to do it because the remainder happens to be 0. So now look how everything is straight up and down. I want you guys to when you're doing these problems, keep your work like this, straight up and down. This is why you have graph paper, so that helps you keep things straight up and down. The x squared in the quotient is above all of the x squareds below it, and so on and so forth. All right, so what does this mean? Well, this means our dividend, which is, I'm going to rewrite that. Let's do purple. So this means our dividend, which is x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9. We don't have to put the 0x in there. That is equal to our divisor, x minus 3, times our quotient, x squared plus x plus 3. So our dividend, well, let me write this in, I'll leave it in purple. So dividend is equal to the divisor times the quotient. Now, this isn't something that you didn't know because you've done this many times, but I just thought it'd be good for a reminder. One more thing before we leave this problem. Let's look at our quotient up here. If we did have a remainder, the way we would write the quotient would be x squared plus x plus 3 plus, and our remainder in this case is 0 over x minus 3. So this is how you would write the quotient if you had a remainder. Okay, let's look at synthetic division. And a lot of people think synthetic division is easier. I'm one of those. But it only works when your divisor is a x plus k or a x minus k. So let's look at our first example. F of x equals x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9. So you draw this divisor sign like I have it here. And this value here goes here, but it's the opposite sign. So if it's a negative 3, we just leave it as a positive, because what we're going to be doing is adding in this case. So the next thing we do, we look at all the coefficients of these values, and also don't forget to leave a placeholder. So the coefficient of x cubed is 1. Coefficient of x squared is a negative 2. We don't have an x term, so we're going to put in a 0. And then coefficient negative 9. First thing we do is we bring the first value down. So the 1, we'll just bring it down like that. Now, we go 3 times 1 is 3, and we put that value right here. And then remember, we are adding these together. So a minus 2 plus 3 is 1. Now again, 3 times this one gives 3. 0 and 3 are 3. And now 3 times this 3 is 9. Put it here. Negative 9 plus 9 is 0. So these are the coefficients, 113, of our answer. But it's going to be, if we started off with an x cubed term, it's going to be x squared. So we have 1x squared. Let's just write it x squared. Plus 1x, so it's just x, plus 3. And this 0 happens to be our remainder, so we don't have to put that in. So our answer is x squared plus x plus 3 should be the same answer we got before. X squared plus x plus 3. Yep. Same answer. So in this case, it seemed a little bit easier to do it synthetically. You just have to remember when you're doing it synthetically, you're adding the values instead of subtracting the values. Okay, the next example, f of x is 4x cubed plus 10x squared minus 3x minus 8 divided by x plus 1. So I want to do this since it didn't say to do it long division, and we have an x plus 1 as a divisor. Well, we're just going to do it synthetically. So the first thing is draw your divisor line or whatever you want to call it. This is an x plus 1, so we're going to have a negative 1 here. Now we're going to write the coefficients. 4, 10, minus 3, and a minus 8. There's no placeholders in this one. So bring the 4 down. Minus 1 times 4, minus 4. Add them, we get 6. Minus 1 times 6, negative 6. Adding these, we get a negative 9. Minus 1 times 9 is 9. Add them, we get 1. So we have a remainder of 1. And so since we started with a 4x cubed, the answer is going to be 4x squared plus 6x minus 9. And then we have plus 1 over the original divisor, x plus 1. Now, what's interesting, we can look at this and we say, well, f of negative 1, that's this value here, is equal to 1, which is that value, which means the point negative 1, 1 is a point on the curve. So let's confirm that. So we want to confirm that f of negative 1 is equal to 1 for the original function. So let's just plug it in. So we have f of x is equal to 4x cubed, or 4 times negative 1 cubed. I'll just write that 4 times negative 1 cubed plus 10 times negative 1 squared minus 3 times negative 1 minus 8. Well, hopefully this, see what this turns out to be. Well, negative 1 cubed is negative 1, so this is negative 4. Negative 1 squared is positive 1, so it's going to be plus 10. Minus 3 times minus 1 is a plus 3. Then we have our minus 8. So we have negative 4, negative 8, that's negative 12, and a plus 13 is equal to 1. So this proves that f of negative 1 is equal to 1, and that is a point on the curve. What's the curve look like? Well, let's see. It's a positive, and it's odd, so it's going to be shaped like this, going up on the right, down on the left, and negative 1 equals 1. Let's just say, I'll pick a point. Let's just say this point here would be negative 1, 1. And so if I put my coordinate system, well, I don't need to draw it, but it would, if I wanted to, I could do it. So this would be the coordinate system, negative 1, 1. Okay, that's it for this one, and I'll do one more example. Okay, here's our last example. We want to show that x plus 3 is a factor of x cubed minus 19x minus 30 equals 0. And then we want to find other factors, and we want to find the zeros, and then we want to sketch this. Okay, so start out by synthetic division. So we're going to write our line. And this is a plus 3, so we know we're going to put a negative 3 right here. Then we're going to look at all the coefficients. So coefficient of x cubed is 1. We don't have an x squared. I'm going to put a 0. Coefficient of x, negative 19. And then we have a negative 30. Okay, bring down the 1. Negative 30 times 1 is negative 3. Add them, negative 3. Negative 30 times negative 3 is 9. Add negative 19 and 9, we get a negative 10. Negative 30 times negative 10 is 30. Negative 30 and 30 is 0. So this means that, it's kind of a weird S. So this means f of negative 3 is equal to 0. And from that, so we can say, so x plus 3 is a factor. Is a factor. Because if you substitute negative 3 in for x, or negative 3 plus 3 is equal to 0. So now, next thing we're going to do, we're going to say, okay, we have a x plus 3. We're going to write all the factors. And then this gives us, well, this started with an x cubed, so this is going to be 1x squared minus 3x minus 10. And we're going to say that's equal to 0. So we can factor this. This is a x minus 5 and x plus 2. We'll bring down our x plus 3. So these are the factors of x cubed minus 19x minus 30. And so we know we can get our zeros now. zeros at x equals -3, 5, and -2. So now we can sketch this thing and see what it looks like. So put in our coordinate frame. Let's see, we did it black. Yeah, didn't like that. Let me try it again. Okay, coordinates. Okay. Okay, so our zeros, -3, 5, and a -2. And what do we know about this? This is a positive odd. So a plus odd goes like this. So at the value x equals 5, we know it's going to go up from there. And we know it's going to go down at the x equals -3. And then we don't have any multiplicity, so we can just kind of, let's just sketch it out. We have to go down, whoops. Let's go down here and then connect somehow like that. So this is what we come up with. If we wanted to graph it, we would have to plot some points between x equals -3 and x equals 5 and just see where the vertices are. So that is it for 2.3.